Hello and welcome to a Paladin's Impressions, where I took a look at games I just don't have the time to review right now. Today we're taking a look at Creeper World 3 Arc Eternal. This is an interesting tower defense game, as you'll soon see why. Instead of the traditional laning mechanics of other tower defense games that have been around since, StarCraft at least. This instead opens up the level to let you build anywhere, and the enemy itself is an unending hostile force of, well, they say nanites, I believe, but it's water. It looks and acts like water, so it's a lot easier to just say water. The Creeper, as it were, is an unrelenting force that you, the main character, were sent away from your home planet for reasons that aren't made entirely clear, but now you've woken up on the other side of the galaxy, and now you're tasked with figuring out a way to permanently end this unrelenting force. I like the idea of this game. I especially like, well, the fact that you're able to build anywhere on these levels and approach them in different ways. You have multiple different turrets. You have also aircraft that you can use to sort of attack other areas and maybe set up an outpost or just drain the creeper as best you can. But I would say the biggest problem with the game is the only way to actually kill, like the fountains that you can see in the middle and the left of the planet, and other enemy structures. But I'll get to that in a second. You have two resources that you have to manage. One is just energy, and the second is AC, which lets you use special turrets and aircraft to lay down an anti-creeper of a sort to protect your base from creep getting in. It's not exactly the most in-depth economy system, but it works. There's also an upgrade system that lets you make your energy usage more efficient, to make your turrets more powerful, and to make the little pellets that go out from your base move faster, and so on. So, as far as like the base idea is concerned, it's pretty good. You know, I've played 16 hours of this game, and I can't say that I hated it. I also really can't say that I loved it either. And I've been thinking this entire day before I started up this video, what is my issue with this game? I've had this game for about a year, so I've had time to really think on why I'm just not loving this as I feel like I should. I've been playing tower defense games since StarCraft 1, to give you an idea, and just had an absolute blast of it in those mods. Unfortunately, the rest of the people that I tend to team up with were far more experienced, so they got really cross with me when I sucked so bad at actually winning the game. I've obviously improved since then. The genre of tower defense has largely been stagnant since, I want to say, 2012, 2013. At least that's what it feels like to me. There are probably games I'm not seeing out there, so okay, let me rephrase. It's been stagnant for a while. With a few exceptions out there, a lot of games tend to follow the same formula, build up towers, usually in the right way, and then eventually win. In Creeper World, I will give them credit, really tries to get away from that formula, but it also feels hopelessly stuck by that formula. And the main reason I say that is in order to destroy any particular enemy permanently, not just suppress them, you have to use a single turret that has a very short range, and the only way to obviously get to that enemy is to push and shove your way through the creeper all the way up to the spot, lay down the turret, blow it up, and then rinse and repeat. So it doesn't really matter that you have all of these different tools and different ways of playing, and that the field is basically open to you. How you win every level is essentially the same, and as a result, the levels start feeling very samey. Sure, they do try different things. They try changing how the creeper works. They try changing the level design to make it a little bit different. But ultimately, I find that every game I play, every level I try, it's the first few minutes are a bit tense while you try and set up your defenses, try and get everything intact. You know, eventually stabilize to the point that you just start expanding, upgrading your resources, getting more reactors, building more turrets, upgrading turrets, to the point that you can start pushing, and the creeper does very little, if anything, to stop you. And because shields exist in this game, it's very easy to just build a line of shield conduits that let you just protect everything. As long as you've got enough energy, which you can build ad nauseum with the reactors, you're fine. Your base is never going to get hit. Again, he tried to change this. There are spore towers in this game that will, after a certain period of time, fire giant blobs of creeper at your base, and they can land theoretically anywhere. However, this is also easily solved by the fact that you can just build laser turrets, and if you build enough of them and protect basically your entire base with a blanket of these, they're not going to do anything. There are some maps that really try and test you on this, but ultimately the result is the same. You just stabilize, push forward, stabilize, and eventually you win. And it does this ad nauseum. I don't know if I'm... See, here's the thing. I don't know if maybe I'm expecting too much, if this is exactly what he intended, but it just feels samey. Feels like I'm just doing the same thing over and over again, and eventually winning the levels. Now, it may take me a while, give or take, but eventually I'll win because the creeper acts like water. There's no advanced AI to change things up. The levels already kind of show their hand at the beginning, so nothing really is going to surprise you. Unless you're not paying attention to the level, which I guess can happen when you don't pay attention to everything. But the other problem is that if you do let creeper in, it tends to be game ending sometimes, or just I don't want to rebuild my base. I'd already spent like 20-30 minutes getting up to this point. Let me just reload the past save I made and move from there. Or you can just keep building turrets, and if one part of it does fail, you can just have those turrets sort of clear it out and rebuild, so on. Granted, that takes a long time, it's very expensive, but the point is that I don't feel like the levels do enough to really distinguish themselves from each other. It just feels like the same experience over and over again. And you'll see what I mean in a second, because I'm going to show you another level. And it's really a pity. I don't know. See, and this is where I'm not certain of myself, and maybe I should be more certain of myself in this. But largely it comes down to the fact that these enemy structures can only be destroyed by this one turret. And that is probably what irritates me the most. It's not like I can just build other turrets. They're all the same. You have to get up really close, build this turret, wait for it to charge up and everything, and then it blows up. It doesn't give me any other reason to really change my tactics, because your tactics ultimately are going to be the same. Build the same turret over and over again. Get within range to use that turret. And I thinking about it now, I think that's why I have such a problem with this game, is because there's only one way to really win the level. It doesn't matter if you have multiple turrets and multiple different ways of accomplishing that goal, the end result is still the same. And there's nothing about the level. The level doesn't really try to adapt to you, at least in the way I feel like it does. Again, the creeper is an interesting mechanic. I'm not going to dispute that, but it just doesn't do enough, in my opinion, to change it up. So that's really my problems with the game. So what do I like about this game? Well, as I said, I already like the setup. I think the graphics, just by being so, what's the word I'm looking for? Not cheap, but maybe just not the biggest, highest quality budget that you would expect. I mean, it is an indie game after all. Let's be realistic. Are very good. It's colorful. Things are easy to discern from each other. You can even change the color of the creep if you want, and plenty of information is kind of displayed without it being overwhelming. So, yeah, I really like the design visually of this game. I think they did a really good job with it. There is plenty of content to go through. The main campaign, I feel like I'm about halfway, maybe even 3/5 of the way through it. And I've played for over 16 hours. You know, that right there, that makes it really hard to complain, because that's a lot of time for, what was it, I think, $15? 16 hours for 15 bucks? I've had worse. I've had way worse. What else do I like? There's also plenty of other modes. There's plenty of other maps if you do find this compelling. There's also online maps and scoreboards if you really want to challenge yourself to be really speedy, which maybe that's the main challenge of this game, is doing speed runs of these maps. And I guess I can kind of give that, but I'm not really much into speed runs to begin with, so there you go. There are other weapons in this game I'm not really showing off, and other levels that you can choose from, but as far as first impressions go, it's okay. As I said, I don't hate this game. I just don't really love it as maybe I was hoping to. And that's about what I've got right now. So, there you go. My first impressions of it, of Creeper World 3 Arc Eternal. I think if you're a tower defense fan, but have just been tired of the genre, this is maybe something to consider looking at, as something just to change it up. And maybe you'll like it more than I did. And certainly, I can't think of any major reason not to get it. I mean, again, I do feel like it's the same mechanic over and over again, but it is a fairly compelling mechanic, so there you go. The story's not much to really talk about. That's why I'm not even really talking about it here. It feels like there's a mystery that I'm supposed to be really concerned about, but it's 16 hours, and in between that time there hasn't been a ton of character development for me to get interested in, so the campaign is largely forgettable because it just takes too long for this mystery to work itself out. And there's a lot of talk of other cultures. It's hard to be invested in those when they're just names and maybe attributes that you've never encountered before. So there you go. My initial impressions of Creeper World 3. Thank you for watching. Please leave feedback, and I will see you next time.